driven past one. Rolling green fairways, a few people in polos pulling carts, maybe a clubhouse with a flag out front. It looks peaceful. It looks profitable. Land like that, kept immaculate, surrounded by wealthy neighborhoods, surely someone's making a fortune just letting people hit a little white ball around it. Here's the strange part. Most golf courses in America lose money. Not a little. Many of them operate at a loss year after year, kept alive by owners who could easily earn more just selling the land to a developer. So why do these places keep existing? Why would anyone hold on to a business that's bleeding cash? To understand that, you have to stop thinking of a golf course as a golf course. Because the golf is almost never the business. The golf is the bait. Let's start with what it actually costs to keep 18 holes alive. A single acre of maintained turf can cost between $5,000 and $15,000 a year just in water, fertilizer, and mowing. A standard course sits on well over 100 acres. That's before you count the equipment, mowers that cost as much as a house, irrigation systems that run underground for miles, and a maintenance crew that has to be there every single day, rain or shine, because grass doesn't take weekends off. And the water bill alone can be staggering. A single course in a dry climate might use as much water in a week as several hundred homes use in a year. In places like Arizona and Southern California, some courses have been forced to rip out entire fairways of grass and replace them with desert landscaping, just to keep their water costs from bankrupting them. The irony is hard to miss. The very thing that makes a golf course beautiful, that unnaturally green, unnaturally perfect turf, is also the single most expensive thing about running one. Now compare that to the money coming in. A round of golf might bring in $40 to $100. On a good day, a course might host 150 rounds. Do the math, and you'll see the gap almost immediately. Green fees alone rarely cover the year-round cost of keeping a golf course alive. It's a business with the overhead of a small city and the revenue of a mid-sized restaurant. So here's the real question. If golf itself barely pays the bills, why does the golf course exist at all? The answer is that most golf courses were never built to make money from golf. They were built to make money from what surrounds them. Picture a developer buying a large piece of farmland outside a growing city. Raw farmland might sell for a few $1,000s an acre. But if that same developer builds a golf course in the middle of it, something strange happens to the land around it. Suddenly there's a view. There's green space. There's a lifestyle. Homes built along a fairway can sell for 20, 30, sometimes 50% more than identical homes just a few streets away with no view of the course at all. This is the twist most people never see. The golf course isn't the product. It's the amenity. It's a 200-acre marketing tool designed to raise the value of every house built around it. The developer might lose money running the course itself for decades, and still come out enormously ahead, because they made their real profit the moment those surrounding homes sold. Think about the math from the developer's side. If building and maintaining the course costs a few $1,000,000 a year, but that course allows the surrounding 400 homes to sell for an extra $50,000 each, the developer has just generated $20 million in added value. Created almost entirely by a business that might never turn a profit on its own. The course isn't the investment. The course is what makes the real investment work. There's a term for this in real estate. The course is often sold, leased, or even given away to a management company or a homeowners association once the houses are built and sold. The developer already got what they wanted. Someone else is left holding a business that was never designed to turn a profit on its own. This is why so many golf courses feel like they're barely staying afloat. Because in a very real sense, their job was already done before the first golfer ever teed off. But not every course is a leftover from a real estate play. Plenty of them are trying to survive as standalone businesses. So how do the ones that actually turn a profit make their money? The answer is almost never the green fees. It's everything around the green fees. Take membership. A public course might charge you $40 for a round. But a private club might charge a member an initiation fee of $10, $20, even $100,000. plus monthly dues that can run into the thousands. Here's the psychological trick behind that. Once someone pays a massive upfront fee to join a club, they don't want to feel like that money was wasted. So they keep showing up. They keep paying dues. They bring guests who see the lifestyle and want to join too. It's not really golf they're buying. It's identity, status, and belonging to a place their neighbors aren't part of. This is where the difference between a public course and a private club becomes almost philosophical. A public course is trying to sell you an experience, one round at a time, competing on price and convenience with every other course in driving distance. A private club has already made its sale. The member is locked in psychologically, sometimes for decades, sometimes for life. It's the same reason gym memberships work even when most members rarely show up. Once someone commits financially and emotionally to belonging somewhere, walking away starts to feel like admitting a mistake. Very few people want to admit that. Then there's the part of the business that quietly outperforms golf itself: events. Weddings, corporate retreats, holiday parties. A clubhouse with a view of the 18th hole is one of the most sought-after event spaces in a lot of towns, and event revenue often dwarfs a single day of green fees. A wedding reception might bring in more money in one evening than 50 rounds of golf combined. Some courses have quietly shifted their entire business model to prioritize the banquet hall over the fairway, because that's where the real margins are. There's a reason for this beyond just the size of the check. A wedding doesn't wear down the turf. It doesn't need 18 holes of daily maintenance. The bride and groom aren't asking the grounds crew to keep the greens rolling at tournament speed. In a strange way, the golf course becomes more profitable the moment people stop actually playing golf on it and just admire it from a banquet hall window instead. And then there's food and beverage, which sounds small until you look at the markup. A beer that costs the club less than $1 might sell for $7 or $8 at the turn. A round of drinks after a game, a bucket of balls at the range, a sleeve of golf balls in the pro shop marked up well beyond retail. None of these feel like big purchases in the moment, but they add up into a second, quieter economy running alongside the actual sport. This is where loss aversion and convenience work together on the golfer without them even noticing. You've already spent 4 hours and $80 on a round. Spending another 12 on a burger and a beer at the clubhouse feels almost weightless in comparison. You're not going to drive 15 minutes to save $4. The convenience is the product, just as much as the golf. Now here's a case that shows how far this model can be pushed. Golf carts. On paper, a golf cart just gets you from hole to hole. But a lot of courses make surprisingly serious money leasing carts to players, sometimes bundling the fee into the round, sometimes charging separately. Multiply a small cart fee by every player, every day, and it becomes a steady, almost invisible revenue stream layered on top of the game itself. Some courses have taken this even further by making carts mandatory. It sounds like a convenience, but it's also a quiet requirement that guarantees revenue from every single player, every single day, regardless of whether anyone actually wants to ride instead of walk. A mandatory cart fee is one of the few charges in the entire business that's almost impossible for the golfer to avoid once they've decided to play. Caddies tell a slightly different story. At high-end private clubs, a caddy program can actually be a genuine profit center, and an even bigger prestige signal. Walking a course with a caddy is slower, more expensive, and in some ways less convenient than a cart. But it's also a callback to an older, more exclusive version of the game, and clubs that offer it can charge accordingly. The caddy isn't just carrying clubs. He's carrying tradition, and tradition, it turns out, is something wealthy members are happy to pay extra for. So when you put it all together, a well-run golf course today often looks less like a sports facility and more like a real estate anchor wrapped around a hospitality business. The 18 holes bring people onto the property. The clubhouse, the bar, the pro shop, and the event hall are where the actual profit tends to live. This explains something that used to be confusing about the sport. Over the last 2 decades, thousands of golf courses in the United States have closed. Not because people suddenly hated golf, but because land values in growing cities rose so high that the math flipped completely. An owner sitting on 150 acres near a city could keep running a golf course that barely broke even, year after year, or sell that land to a developer for tens of millions of dollars and walk away instantly. When holding the business becomes worth less than selling the dirt underneath it, the business doesn't stand a chance. There's an interesting pattern in which courses tend to close first. It's rarely the remote, rural courses out in farm country, where land isn't worth much more as anything else. It's the courses inside or right next to fast-growing cities, sitting on land that a developer would pay enormously to turn into townhomes, apartments, or retail space. In a strange twist, being close to civilization is what kills a lot of golf courses. Being far from it is often what saves them. At the same time, something interesting has happened at the other end of the market. High-end private clubs, the kind with wait lists and six-figure initiation fees, have actually thrived. Because those clubs were never really selling golf either. They were selling scarcity. A limited number of memberships, in a limited number of clubs, in a world where more people than ever have the money to want in. The harder it is to get a spot, the more valuable that spot becomes to the people trying to get one. This is a version of a pattern that shows up across luxury goods everywhere, from watches to handbags to rare sneakers. Scarcity doesn't just limit supply. It manufactures desire. A club with an open door policy and short waitlist doesn't feel exclusive, no matter how nice the course is. A club that makes people wait years, and sometimes get rejected entirely, becomes something people want precisely because they might not be able to have it. There's also a generational story hiding underneath all of this. For decades, golf had an image problem. It was seen as slow, expensive, and increasingly out of step with how younger people wanted to spend their free time. Course closures accelerated, and plenty of industry analysts assumed the whole sport was in a long, slow decline. Then something unexpected happened. A wave of new players, many of them younger and more casual, discovered the game during a period when other forms of entertainment were harder to access. Courses that had been struggling suddenly saw tee times booked out weeks in advance. It turned out the appetite for golf hadn't disappeared. It had just been waiting for the right moment to come back. That resurgence didn't erase the underlying economics, though. The courses that survived long enough to catch that wave were often the ones that had already learned to stop depending on green fees alone. The ones still betting everything on the price of a round were the ones that had already closed, sold, or converted into something else entirely. So the next time you drive past the golf course, the picture changes a little. That perfectly maintained green isn't really the business. It's the backdrop. Somewhere nearby, it's likely still raising the value of the houses around it. Inside the clubhouse, it's probably making more from a Saturday wedding than from an entire day of golfers. And every card fee, every markup on a beer, every membership renewal that someone doesn't want to feel was wasted, that's the real economics of the game. The golf course was never just about the golf. It was always about everything golf could justify charging for.